Good morning. Please join us in singing our opening hymn, From This Bright Hour. From this bright hour and days to come, as we have gathered into one, open the gates and the light will shine all around. Let there be light. Wounds of the world begin to heal as peace with justice is made real. Open the gates and the light will shine all around. Let there be light. All are welcome, all invited, with open hearts and open minds. In our living, in our learning, may we always be searching for truth and light. Now is the hour, join in the song, here in this place where we belong. Open the gates and the light will shine all around. Let there be light.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to family worship here at First Unitarian Church. We're in Portland, Oregon, and our mission is to nurture the individual spirit and together to work towards building the beloved community. I'm so glad you're with us this morning. I hope you've heard the news that next Sunday, March 13th, we will begin to regather in person here at our church. Our learning community classes will regather from 11 to 12:15 during the sanctuary worship service. Family worship will remain online only through spring break. Then we'll gather in person for the first time on March 27th in the chapel at 10 o'clock. Look for information this week from the church with more details. But how wonderful we have a chance to gather once again in person. I will light the chalice here in the chapel this morning. If you have a candle or a chalice at home with you now, I invite you to light it. We are Unitarian Universalists. We light this chalice in faith, in hope, and in love.
Author and activist Bell Hooks said, "When we love the earth, we are able to love ourselves more fully. Come, let us worship together." Today is the first Sunday of the month, and that means we get to bring out the Wonder Box to help us learn about our new spiritual theme that we'll be exploring for March. And I'm excited about this today because I actually got to bring the Wonder Box home. So I get to give you a real close-up look. Makes it look really big, doesn't it? And it's just beautiful. And you can hear something rolling around inside. So let's see what there is. So it's a candle. There's the wick. And I think this is a special candle because it's made out of pure beeswax. can see the little bee there on the label. And I wish I could let you smell it because this is one of my favorite smells. Some of you participated in the stuffy sleepover that was a couple weeks ago. And you might remember when you picked up your stuffed animal, in the bag that went home with you, there was a heart-shaped candle. And those candles are actually also made of beeswax. So what is beeswax anyway? It's different from honey, right? Honeybees make beeswax and use it to build the cells that hold their honey and to protect their larvae, the baby honeybees that are growing in the hive. Responsible beekeepers are able to harvest small amounts of it along with amounts of honey, and it can be used for many things, like candles. You can even warm it up in your hands and mold it. There are thousands of different kinds of bees that live all over the world, and they may seem small and insignificant to the lives of humans, just little insects buzzing around. But they have an important lesson to teach us about humility. Because human life on this planet depends on the health and well-being of all other life on this planet, including even the smallest of creatures. Do you remember the 7th principle of Unitarian Universalism? We care for the interdependent web of life of which we are a part. In other words, we share our planet with all living beings, and we all depend on one another. Humans don't do well when other creatures aren't doing well. We must always be thinking beyond ourselves. Our theme for this month is humility. And in this case, humility means recognizing that we are not the most important beings in this world, but that we are a part of a whole. So now I'd like to share a story with you called If Bees Disappeared. It's written and illustrated by Lily Williams. This is Kent, a historic county in the United Kingdom. Kent is known as the Garden of England for its rolling hills and lush landscapes. The creatures that live here are fluffy, sneaky, spiky, and small. Bees are a keystone species, which means they are one of the most important animals in their ecosystem. Bees' ancestors first appeared 270 million years ago, and after millions of years of evolution and a few mass extinctions, honeybees appeared roughly 35 million years ago in Southeast Asia. Today, there are more than 20,000 species of bees around the globe. All bees are pollinators, meaning they carry pollen from one plant to another so that the plants can reproduce. Bees are more efficient and successful at pollination than other pollinator sources like birds and wind. Honeybees are considered a superorganism. This means all the different parts of the hive act as a single organism and they cannot survive without one another. The queen, who rules the honeybee colony, must remain healthy and mate with the males called drones to produce as many baby bees as possible. The rest of the hive is composed of female worker bees. They forage for food, defend their hive, and pollinate flowers. Worker honeybees spend their days gathering nectar to feed their colony. During this process, their hairy bodies get covered with pollen, which they then distribute from flower to flower as they slurp up nectar. As the pollen is distributed, the bees are creating a stronger and more diverse flower population. Unfortunately, today, honeybees are threatened by environmental and human-made causes, as well as a disease called colony collapse disorder. CCD occurs when a whole colony of bees dies at once. Scientists know that disease, pesticide exposure, lack of foraging habitats, and poor nutrition contribute to CCD. However, the details are not clear as to why this happens. CCD is responsible for most of all hives lost. If honeybees disappeared, so would most of the plants they pollinate. Wind pollination creates less plant diversity than bee pollination. Plant diversity is important for the strength and health of an environment. While some plants would be able to survive without honeybee pollination, the crops they produce would look different, be less flavorful, and have a shorter lifespan. The majority of the plants that honeybees pollinate could not survive on the wind, bird, or other insect pollination alone. If honeybees' pollination disappeared, favorite foods like apples, blueberries, avocados, almonds, chocolate, and coffee would become rarer. Fruits are important to many people's diets. If lots of fruits disappeared, wild fruit-eating birds that rely on these for food would disappear. This would then affect birds of prey, which rely on smaller birds as a source of food, further disrupting the bird population. If birds disappeared, there would be no natural pest control in gardens and farms, and the dispersal of seeds from fruit-eating birds would stop. Birds help maintain the health of gardens and farms by consuming hundreds of insects a day. And the seeds fruit-eating birds carry in their gut are dispersed across the land, ensuring biodiversity in fruit plants. Without bees, birds, and our favorite foods, we would be left with a very limited variety of crops. The loss of these plants, animals, and insects could continue, changing the world as we know it. This unraveling effect, called a trophic cascade, would move from flowers to crops, to gardens, to cities, and to countries, eventually landing in our own yards. From food to medicine to clothing, bees help keep our lives going. Thankfully, the news about honeybees is buzzing. With growing urban farm initiatives, bee-responsible growing techniques, and backyard beekeeping, we are able to learn about bees wherever we go. And maybe we will see that even the smallest creatures can change the world.
I'm a little bee, can you see me? Traveling from tree to tree, getting nectar for my honey. I'm a little bee, I have a job, you see, for all humanity, the gift of pollination. From my labor harvest flows, fruits will grow from flowers bloom. I'm a little bee, watch your step, tread carefully. Ooh. Can you see me traveling from tree to tree, getting nectar for my honey?
I'd like to invite you on a guided meditation with me this morning. This meditation is inspired by the gratitude tree from New Horizon Meditation Stories. Find a comfortable spot and relax in that spot. Take a deep breath in and let it out. Take another deep breath in and let it out. Imagine yourself surrounded by light. When you are held in that light, you feel safe and you feel warm and comfortable. Imagine yourself in a beautiful place, a place with trees and with grass. Maybe you see birds and butterflies. Maybe you even hear some bees buzzing around you. Imagine yourself on a path. As you continue on the path, imagine seeing a tree in a distance. It's a little tree, a beautiful tree. As you get closer and as you look at the little tree up close, you see little pieces of paper hanging on the tree, like little leaves. They're blank. Go and sit at the base of the tree. And as you sit there, start to think about the things in your life that you're grateful for. Maybe start with the people in your life, your parents, your grandparents, your siblings, your friends. Think about your pets. And think about other things that are important to you in your life. Food and a home. Maybe some favorite toy or something that you really like to do. Think back to Cassandra's story about bees earlier. Think about the things that may seem small and could easily be taken for granted, but that may actually be very, very important. Imagine putting those things down on one of those pieces of paper. And then imagine tearing off pieces of paper with those things on them. And imagine those pieces of paper becoming leaves on that tree. Imagine not only yourself adding things to the tree, but others doing that as well. And imagine that tree getting bigger and bigger until you're now under this big tree that has lots and lots of leaves. Think about how your name might be on one of those leaves. Think about how important you are to others. And think about how important others are to you. Think about how the tree needs all those leaves not only to survive, but to thrive. So take a moment to say thank you for all that you have, and say thank you that others are thankful for you as well. Just sit for a moment in the shade of that tree and feel held and feel loved. Feel how you are part of the whole universe, how you are part of this interdependent web of life. When you're ready, come back now to your breath. Come back to your breathing in and to your breathing out. Just be in the present moment now. Thanks for joining me this morning in this meditation. It's been good to be together.
Take time to notice what is happening around you on our planet so full of life, in the sky, under your feet, in the flowers, this enormous interconnected web. What is your part? Words from writer, doula, and activist Adrienne Marie Brown. Everything is connected. The soil needs rain, organic matter, air, worms, and life in order to do what it needs to do to give and receive life. Each element is an essential component. This is the day we have been given. Let us rejoice in it and be glad. Go in peace, practice love. Amen.
Please join us in singing our closing hymn, As You Go. We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life, we hold you in our love as you go. We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as